Why don't you think it'd be more likely that there is a God than that there isn't?
Because in this century, in this time, we understand so much more of what the world is and how diseases come to be and how the planets work and all these other things that we used to attribute to deities. Everything over time has gone from calm religion to science, religion to science. Everything moves in this direction. Nothing moves in the other direction. There's nothing that we know now that we have learned from science to be wrong because the Bible told us something differently. But there's lots of things that are in the Bible and other things in those cultures and in older times that we've found explanations for. Not that we have an explanation for everything, obviously. But
well, actually, the Big Bang was discovered by a Catholic priest. And
thank you for that. Thank you for that. I don't see why that's an argument, because the Catholic priest, I wish I could think of his name. I can't remember it now. Tell me, it's L.A. something.
I can't remember.
Lemaitre or something like that. He used scientific methods. It doesn't. The fact that he was a priest is not relevant, other than it's a impressive method. It's an impressive demonstration of him putting his religious bias aside and going with what the evidence implied. So yeah. I think it's terrific that it was discovered by a priest, the concept, but that doesn't mean it came from religion. It's the exact opposite. So why is that? Why do you bring that up as a point on your side?
Because your point here is that science is, I guess, like contradictory to religion, but I'm saying that's not true, because someone who is clearly very religious discovered something very scientific. And the Big Bang doesn't necessarily go against anything the Bible says.
Okay, let me say this again. It is not entirely contradictory to religion, but when there are 2 points, you have to go topic by topic, where religion says one thing and science says another. And I'm not saying hypothetical science, a topic that has been proved to a theory level, then the religion is wrong. So when in those situations, and Lemaitre, I think it was, he was in one of those situations. God created the universe versus the Big Bang concept that seemed to be coming together, that came together for him. He put aside the creation argument. He made the right choice, as it turns out. Well, so he put it aside, so that does conflict with his religion. It conflicts directly with his religion.
Well, where did the Big Bang come from?
We don't know, but neither does he. He has a hypothesis. He has a God hypothesis.
Well, he clearly, that's what he believed, was that it was God. So.
Right. So we don't even have to go to where did the Big Bang come from. That's not the point. The point is that the Big Bang happened. We know that now. So the question of before doesn't matter. It's just that it did happen. So the universe didn't have to pop out of nowhere creation. It started at the Big Bang just before, fraction of a second before. So you don't need the creator God anymore. The God hypothesis goes away, because that's a hypothesis that does not have evidence for it.
There's a historical evidence.
It's like the analogy that I used of Thor and thunder, right? I used to think that thunder came from Thor and lightning from Zeus, right? But once you know and learn how the weather works, you don't need the God explanation anymore. You don't retain the hypothesis, the alternate hypothesis that does not have evidential elements to it. That becomes a speculation that drops away, because now we have found the answer.
What about all the testimonies of people saying that they've seen God or seen miracles from God?
Are you okay with me on that point? You get that point?
I get what you're saying. Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So go ahead. What were you about to say?
What about all the people that say that they've seen miracles or they've seen things from God?
That's interesting, and that's where you have to look at the psychology. I agree. It in the sense that you don't just automatically throw that away. It's like you don't automatically throw away people's reports of seeing ghosts and things. An observation is considered a fact. The observation you generally don't deny, and then you try to look for an explanation. So if someone says they saw something, assuming that they're honest about it, we know that they perceived that. There's probably some sort of cultural influence there. But when those things are tested, like when we test paranormal stuff, when we put it under controlled tests, it always disappears. It becomes one of those extraordinary claims requires more than just somebody say so. And we know
it's not like you can
we've
remake
learned a lot about.
I was just saying it's not like you can like remake a miracle in a lab.
Yes, that's correct. I mean, we think it's correct because if you could, it wouldn't be a miracle; it would be science, right? But what I'm saying is, because somebody says they experienced a miracle, I cannot believe them. I had told the story the other day that I had a priest friend of mine a couple years ago who told me that he thinks he had a bad heart, and he was in the hospital, and it improved, and the doctor said, you're good now. I'm simplifying because I don't read the chart anyways, but he is convinced completely that God took his heart out, put in a new, younger heart, and that's his say-so. I need more than that, sorry.
Yeah.
That's just this not enough for me to consider that. So there could be 100 people out there that make the same claim. It doesn't matter. You say,
Yeah.
I mean, there's 80% of the U.S. population believes in God. That doesn't mean that God exists. It makes me want to look further into it. Why do 80% of the people believe it when there doesn't seem to be sufficient evidence to justify that belief? So to me, that's like an anomaly in science. They always pop up. It's like, well, this new finding over here, JWST just found a really odd galaxy that shouldn't exist. So that's cool because it's a clue that there's some piece of the puzzle and some piece of information that we either have wrong or we don't know yet. And that gives us an avenue to go investigate. We don't jump to any conclusion. We don't throw out everything that came before, but we don't say that, yes, that proves aliens.
But you're also like, I feel like you're putting in like about the same much amount of faith in saying that there's no God than in saying that there is a God.
No.
Because like you're putting faith that we're going to find stuff that's going to prove why there's all these people that follow this fake thing.
Well, natural explanations are not extraordinary. That's the difference. God explanations are extraordinary.
Well, they're extraordinary.
If there's a guy who gets cured of heart disease because of 100 years of medical research into that type of ailment versus a guy over here that's healing a heart based on, touch therapy or something, those are not equal things. One is unusual and one is not. One's very common. The bias seems to me to go to the supernatural side.
It's just insane to me that over half the population believes that Jesus, this one random carpenter from 2,000 years ago, is the Messiah.
Yeah. And consider that how many Muslims are there in the world and how many Hindus are there in the world. So the Christianity is, it's had its day as the dominant religion. Islam is about to have its day. Over the next 50 years, it's going to take over as the most dominant religion in the world. So that argument will go away.
Hey, Bill, there's someone else that wants to join.
I'll bring them up.
What I was going to say, though, is that Muslims believe that Jesus is the Messiah, and Buddhists, the Dalai Lama said that Jesus was someone who reached nirvana but stayed behind to help people. So, to help suffering people. So, like every major religion believes in Jesus to some degree.
Well, to some degree, they disagree vehemently on divinity and the Trinity and stuff. But yeah, again, but these are beliefs. These were beliefs that were developed at a time of scientific ignorance where we didn't know much stuff. So the interesting clue to me that once we hit the Enlightenment, essentially, is when it kind of really started. But it really didn't. I don't think it really took off until after Darwin's views, and certainly after Einstein, we really knew a lot more about how the universe works. That it has shifted to natural stuff. It seems a lot more rational than carrying forward older superstitions.